Hey, Eldorados, as you know, we have been demonetized by YouTube. Why am I smiling? We must be doing something right. So to continue to get The Great Eldersky unedited and on demand, just go to epochtv.com/Larry Elder, epochtv.com/Larry Elder, because we've got a country to save. Well, move over, Johnnie Cochran. Attorney Ben Crump has become the go-to defense lawyer for families of those with loved ones killed by the cops.
America, let's pause for a moment. Leslie McSpadden's immediate reaction, which was caught on videotape, they both were allowed to go home and sleep in their bed that night. A Glock 17 and a taser. It was Dr. Martin Luther King who said, "Justice delayed is justice denied."
Now, on the anniversary of George Floyd's death, Mr. Crump wrote an op-ed piece published widely that made blatantly false accusations about the police. It is no longer a hushed secret that black people are wantonly gunned down by law enforcement on a seemingly daily basis. Daily basis? There are more hashtags than most can count as the list of black lives struck down at the hands of police officers continues to grow, even after the global outrage that was provoked by the death of George Floyd, which we solemnly recognize 1 year later today, end of quote. Wantonly gunned down on a seemingly daily basis? According to the Washington Post, in the last several years, the police have averaged killing about 1,000 Americans each year. 500 of them have been white, 250 of them have been black, less than one per day, and more unarmed whites have been killed than unarmed blacks. Here's what Reason magazine said. Looking at just deadly shootings, black men get arrested 2 million times or so each year. Many millions more times, police have other adversarial encounters with black men, such as traffic stops or confrontations that don't lead to arrest. A tiny percentage of those encounters lead to deadly shootings, and in some fraction of those, the police use of force was justified by the threat faced by the officer. So the odds of an unjustified deadly shooting of a black man in a confrontation with the police in any given instance is tiny, end of quote. As to Mr. Crump's outrageous assertion that the police are wantonly killing blacks on a seemingly daily basis, here's what the MacGyver Institute said, a think tank. The Washington Post has created a database of every known daily police shooting in America since 2015. As of this writing, 6,211 people have been shot and killed by law enforcement officers. 46% of them, 2,883 to be exact, were white, while 24%, 1,496 total, were black. And about whites killed by cops versus blacks killed by cops, here's what the Institute said. The number of whites shot and killed by police is surprisingly high. African Americans are getting shot disproportionately often compared to whites on a per capita basis. But if you look at arrest data, you see that African Americans are arrested for violent crime much more often per capita than whites. This creates more opportunities for confrontations between violent criminals and the police, and undoubtedly explains at least some of the disparity, end of quote. Now, how many of those who resisted were unarmed? Quote, just 6% were unarmed. Nearly every single one of the more 6,000 people of all races killed by law enforcement in recent years was armed. Not only are incidents in which officers use force exceedingly rare and often result in mild or no injuries, incidents in which force is even threatened are also very infrequent. Nearly every single person police officers have shot and killed since the Washington Post started its comprehensive database has been armed. Yet the popular misconception persists that law enforcement is killing unarmed black men at a staggering rate, end of quote. Last year, it is estimated that the police killed 25 unarmed blacks. That represents 0.3% of the 7,000 black victims killed last year. But according to policemag.com, half of the survey's very liberal respondents believe 1,000 or more unarmed black men were killed by the police in 2019. And nearly 8% of self-described very liberal respondents believe officers killed more than 10,000 unarmed black men in 2019. What do self-described just regular old liberals think? They're almost as badly misled. About 39% of self-described liberal respondents said police killed 1,000 or more unarmed black men in 2019. 5% of liberal respondents said the number was more than 10,000.
Just a bit outside.
And Mr. Crump's article said absolutely nothing about the higher black rates of offending. Quote, although blacks comprise just 13% of the population, they accounted for 53% of the murder and non-negligent manslaughter arrests in 2018, 54% of all robbery arrests, and 37% of all violent crime arrests. Whites, on the other hand, comprise 76% of the population, but made up just 44% of the murder and non-negligent manslaughter, 43% of the robbery, and 59% of the total violent crime arrests. The unfortunate reality is that just as blacks are statistically far more likely to be the victims of homicide or other violent crimes, they are also statistically more likely to commit violent crimes that would bring them into conflict with a law enforcement officer with his or her gun drawn. That, not racism, is a reason for the disparity in police shootings, end of quote. And unarmed does not mean not dangerous. Michael Brown's DNA was found on the officer's gun. And in the case of Tamir Rice, he did have a plastic gun, but it was reasonably perceived as a legitimate threat to the officer. And remember the case of Amadou Diallo?
The young African immigrant died when 4 plainclothes cops shot him 19 times, firing 41 bullets, mistaking the wallet in his hand for a gun. Today, the 4 police officers mostly stayed out of sight, but New York's mayor, though admitting the police had made a terrible mistake, said the NYPD was sensitive to minority citizens.
This police department has done more than any police department in the United States to train its police officers to be respectful. It does the job of policing imperfectly, because human beings are imperfect. But it does the job of policing better than any organization in the world.
In the case of Diallo, there were 4 black jurors. All 12 jurors found the 4 cops not guilty. They felt that the cops legitimately perceived there to be a threat because they asked Mr. Diallo to show his hands. Mr. Diallo mistook the direction and reached for his wallet instead. It also shows you the importance of complying. Once again, this anti-cop Phoenix activist was given a shoot, no shoot drill, and to his credit, he took the sheriff's department up on their suggestion. Here's what happened.
Invitation to look at things from the other side.
So I'm going to have you put the holster on, right?
3 scenarios where you have to decide to shoot or not shoot.
Look. Where you have your hand in
You're looking for your vehicle. What kind of...
It's my car, man.
Oh. Maupin, the officer, is shot. Scenario 2, a call of 2 men fighting.
What's going on today, gentlemen? What's happening here?
What's wrong with you?
Back up.
Huh?
He
We were
shouldn't
just
approach me.
arguing
He shouldn't
about what
approach
happened in there.
me.
Tell me why you shot.
Well, I've shot because he was within that zone. It's hard to make that call. It shakes you up.
Again, an unarmed man was shot. Scenario 3, a call about a possible burglar walking down the street. Maupin gets him on the ground. He's not complying.
I need to...
Everybody, look at this guy. What are you doing?
No shots fired, but the suspect did have a hidden knife in his waistband. I asked Maupin what his biggest takeaway from this exercise will be.
I didn't understand how important compliance was, but after going through this, yeah, my attitude has changed. This is all unfolding in 10 to 15 seconds. People need to comply with the orders of law enforcement officers for their own sake.
Now, famed defense lawyer Johnnie Cochran once said, race plays a part of everything in America. Everything? And Ben Crump's op-ed piece, in which he says that the police are wantonly gunning down blacks on a seemingly daily basis, is also a crock. It's good for training the prospective jurors to believe whatever they say about cops. It's also a lie that's getting people killed. Maybe someday Mr. Crump might take the police up on a shoot, don't shoot drill. because it ain't easy being a cop. Now, I'm Larry Elder, and we've got a country to save. I will see you next time.